Hi guys, I'm Ed.
I'm Harry.
Welcome to our final day of the HTC Vive Bonanza.
Yes, and today it is the big comparison test between the Oculus Rift and the Vive.
It is, complete with a nice new low shot. Why is the camera so low, Harry?
To give us narrative space, Edward.
Of course. So we're going to basically take you through kind of an overview of both of the headsets, and we're going to go into some more of the intricate details about them, and then we're going to do a brief test of WinLens, because it's actually a game for both of them, and we're just going to see how well it tracks and how well it looks in both the headsets, so you get a graphical example of how they compare.
Let's dive right in.
Let's. So obviously we have both the Oculus and the Vive here on their respective boxes. So what you get with the Oculus Rift is you get yourself the Xbox One controller with the wireless dongle. You get the sensor for your headset, which doesn't have a particularly long cable, and that's used right in front of you in front of your unit. And then you get the actual headset itself, which is very, very sleek, very well designed, and not many wires, which is a very, very nice feature.
No, the real bonus of the Oculus is that it just connects straight to the back of your computer. There's little setup time needed. It just it's in front of the sensor and you're there, you're set up.
Absolutely.
The fact they threw in an Xbox One controller is a nice bonus, especially seeing as it didn't come with the controllers from launch.
Absolutely.
We did talk about how that wasn't the best thing in our previous videos, which you can watch on our channel.
You can
over there somewhere.
Somewhere else here.
Now the Vive comes with the headset itself. You get the two controllers that are motion controllers in the box from launch, which is a big plus, we felt.
It is.
You also get the lighthouse sensors. These come with wall mounts, but you also can buy stands like we did to put them on, which is much more convenient.
We did.
Bottom line, you get everything you needed in both sets. Which did you feel was better?
Well, so like you said, the ease of picking up the Oculus, plugging it into the back of your computer, and you're ready, I liked that.
Yeah.
The Vive was way more fiddly.
Yes, it was. It took a long time to set up the Vive, especially with having to do the lighthouse sensors each time we changed our room.
Absolutely, because whenever you move the device away, they are quite good at syncing, but they can go slightly out of sync and lead to some tracking issues.
Yeah.
So you have to rerun the room setup, and on top of doing all that, there are quite a lot more wires. The wires have to plug into a unit, which then has to go out some more wires into the back of the PC. Whereas, like I said, the Oculus, this is all you have to plug in, and then you're there.
That said, the Oculus cable is quite short, and we have demonstrated in a previous video that room scale is certainly doable with the Oculus.
Absolutely.
It's a bit more fiddly, but it can be done. However, the cable is very short.
It is.
So you have to buy extenders, and when you do that, you deteriorate the quality of the signal, and that makes things a bit tricky.
So comfort is always very important, and like we said, the ability to just plug that in and put this straight on. I have actually found the Oculus to be quite easy to put on. You hook it around the back of your head, bring it down, there. And one thing I have really found about this is once you adjust it to the right place, it stays where you need to. I can look about, and that is not moving from the position it's in on my face. Even when I look up and down, that has not moved from my cheek.
Now, in terms of comfort, I'd certainly say the Oculus actually has it for me.
I agree.
It's, as I said, it's very flexible. You can fit it to your face. It's very light as well. It's the light of the two headsets, which I found a big plus. And the fact that it straps to your face and doesn't feel too heavy, I think is a big bonus.
That's definitely a big bonus. And one thing I should add in terms of a form of comfort is that the sweat does not gather on the Oculus as much as it does on the Vive, as you know, to your detriment.
Exactly. Last but not least, the headphones obviously are included in the Oculus.
They are.
Which is a nice feature. The fact you don't have to put on a separate headset and set up different inputs and outputs, very nice. The audio, I guess, not as all-encompassing and not as engrossing as the Vive.
The thing is, when you've got headphones that are circumaural and sit on your ear, you'll always lose some of the bass frequencies, and you'll also allow sound from outside in. The thing with the Vive is that because you have the ability to plug any headset you want in, you can go from over-the-ear things that allow you to hear each other like we use in our videos. You can go for little earbuds, which actually really add to the immersion because it just cuts off the outside world. So you can have a bit more variety with your audio with the Vive compared to the Oculus.
Now, you can actually remove these from the Oculus and wear your own headphones, but again, then you are tethered by the cable that has to go into the computer itself.
It does.
Which means you have to have a long cable for audio to work.
You would. So as far as the audio side goes, it's nice that they've built them in. As far as wanting to use your own headset, it's not so handy.
No. In terms of comfort, the Vive obviously very comfortable as well, but a bit heavy on the face, as we mentioned just there. It's a very comfy headset, and you can obviously adapt it so it nice and fits your face, nice and tight. But yeah, they're heavy.
Slightly heavy, and actually I found so when I just mentioned there that when you put that on your face, it's secure, it won't move. The second you do that with the Vive, because you're moving about like that, there will be a lot more movement, and you will actually find it loosens up and you'll have to readjust sometimes. And that being said, an additional point to that is the strap at the back of the head does not feel as secure as the Oculus does.
No.
This one grabs you right from the back of your skull, and it supports you there, and it grips it to the front of your face. The Vive, it's more around the top, actually. And so if you're getting too involved and too immersed and you're looking down, you will actually have it popping off and maybe sliding forward.
Yeah, I dare say so. One thing the Vive did edge it on, though, for me, was that with the Oculus, there's a tiny little crack at the bottom of the eyepiece here. I'm not sure if it's a purposeful thing, so you can actually see your surroundings a little bit from the bottom, but it can be a bit distracting having that light bleed in.
It can.
With the Vive, I feel it's still there, it's just not as noticeable. You can really get it tight on your face, and with the foam surrounding, it's very tight still. You don't really see any of the outside world, which makes it a lot more immersive.
Also, there's a little rubber bit, a very thin rubber bit here for the nose that actually blocks some more of the light there, which the Oculus doesn't have. But if you do manage to get the Oculus quite firm on your face and maybe even tilt the bottom down, because the front does tilt a bit, you can eliminate some more of that light, to be fair.
Very much so.
So with regards to the audio-visual experience that you get with the Oculus Rift, it's very, very crisp and it's very, very clear. The HTC Vive actually has a slightly bigger field of view, doesn't it?
I think they have the same field of view.
It's slightly taller.
The Vive is slightly taller, the Oculus is slightly wider. I mean, certainly I found that anyway.
Interesting, yeah, because I personally found that there was an ever so slightly more letterboxed feel to this headset, maybe just slightly on height. Width-wise, I didn't really find issues. You can still...
If I'm honest, I didn't notice the difference, to be honest. I think
no,
they're
both very, very similar. Personally, I did actually find that the Oculus was ever so... I don't know, maybe it was just psychosomatic, but I found that the visual thing was ever so slightly less in this.
Interesting.
But in the Vive, it did feel slightly wider. One issue I do have is that that's the thing for both of them, but I find it's way more noticeable in the Oculus, is that right in the middle of these lenses, just here, there's the sweet spot where you really need your eyes to be in order for everything to look crisp and not have these fluffy, blurry edges. And it's a lot harder to find that on here than it is on the Vive, I find. Although, when you do find it, because this headset remains quite still when you're wearing it, it does stay on there quite easily. It's hard to find it, though.
Interesting, so I actually found that the Vive was worse for that. Did you? Trying to find the sweet spot in the Vive was more difficult because it was, I guess it was...
It moves about more.
Yeah, it does. I mean, even if you got it nice and tight in your face, it still moves about a bit, and it's still not as comfortable, I suppose. It's harder finding that sweet spot and keeping that sweet spot with the Vive.
Absolutely, but I find that I actually personally find it's easier to find the spot, but it is easier to lose it. Whereas with this, it's harder to find, but once you find it, it's easy to stay on because it's a more secure headset.
There we go.
With regards to the audio, like we've said earlier, it's very comfortable on the ears, these little headsets, I must say. But the audio experience not anywhere near as immersive because you can still hear everything going on around you. But for the sake of doing, if you're doing VR with friends and you want them to hear you while you speak and stuff like that, this is actually quite useful. And they're by no means bad headphones. Very good bass response, very clear, very, very nice, very enjoyable. The tracking was another point. So with obviously there's a slight difference in the tracking between these, and it's slightly unfair to compare.
This is where they're different devices, really, because the Vive has been built for room scale. Oculus can do room scale, but it hasn't been built for it. No. So it's not really a fair comparison.
In fact, I'm going to go out there and say that it can't do room scale. I know that we've got lots of people who have been saying that they can. It can't. We've done the test. We're going to do it again later, and if I'm wrong, I'll eat my words. But this sits in front of you, or maybe even above you and slightly angled down in order to get it, tracking you perfectly. And when it does track you, it tracks you really well. But you can't do what you can do with the Vive, with the Oculus. You simply can't. And people who say you can are lying. And obviously, when the touch controls come out, the experience will be way closer, and it'll be drastically different to what it is now.
Remember, this is just one sensor. Now, people have said if you use two sensors, you can probably get more of a room scale kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
We'll have to test one day. But
absolutely.
I mean, the ones we've done so far, not so good.
It senses from far away. I'm not saying it doesn't do that, and you can move about, but it's by no means as streamlined and immersive as the Vive. But the thing is, you can't compare it. The Oculus is designed for a seated, stationary, or standing stationary experience. The Vive is designed for you to walk around.
Yeah, and that's where it really shines, because the room scale setup that you can do with it is just so well done. I mean, you can change the setup if it's not feeling too good, but we never had any problems with it whatsoever.
During our initial setup, we did. From then on, no.
No, I mean, it was so easy to set up, and once you outline your section, the chaperone system makes sure you don't leave it, and it's very intuitive for that.
It is, and the ability to utilize the front-facing camera, another point of the headset that maybe puts the Vive slightly above for me. Double tapping on this button here will allow you to go into Predator vision and see everything around you. That's very handy, because otherwise you are just doing that with the device all the time, which there's nothing wrong with doing that. It's not that inconvenient, but it's just that slight bit better having that camera to utilize.
Yeah. So software-wise, obviously Vive runs off Steam VR, and Oculus has its own Oculus Home kind of thing.
It does.
I felt that there wasn't much difference between the two. Oculus had quite a nice thing where you had a room, I suppose, that's like a room for your VR games, and you could select them and stuff. I mean, Vive has that too, but I just didn't feel it was...
It's slightly different in the Vive, isn't it? You're standing in this never-ending plane, looking up at the Earth and the Moon, and then you have to press a button which brings up a Steam menu. So there is a difference. Now, something I did notice is that when you get in there, everything seems a lot more streamlined in the Oculus than it does in Steam VR. Now, in defense of Steam VR, I'm not criticizing it at all. I am just saying that we faced some issues with Steam VR, like crashing of the occasional game or freezing, which we did not experience with the Oculus.
I think the Oculus stuff was a lot more intuitive.
It is. Now, something I wanted to mention is that the Oculus Rift, the people at Oculus have had several iterations of this device to get it right. They had DK1, they had DK2, they had the Crescent Bay one, they had the pre-release, and now they've got the CV1. So that's basically 4 or 5 devices. Well, plus they had the Gear VR, the Samsung one, which is powered by Oculus. They've had all these different opportunities to work on wireless, to work on how well the video works, and it's no wonder they've produced such a wonderful device. The Vive, still a brilliant device, a fantastic experience. When it's got the amount of practice that this has, I'm not saying it hasn't, because obviously it's gone through iterations before this, but not as many. When it has done that, it'll be an even better experience than it is now.
Maybe so, but I didn't feel like it was a bad thing. I think the Vive still had a very good home front, a good storefront rather. Selecting games to play them from using the Vive and being inside the Vive, still a very simple experience, and one that a new person using the device could easily pick up, I feel.
Absolutely.
And yeah, not the end of the world. I feel like there's not much difference.
No.
Actually.
So yeah, like the tracking of the Oculus is actually fairly good. It's very accurate. You feel all of your movements, and it does look all right. I can see the black bits on the edge, and actually I am noticing the screen door effect, which for those of you who don't know the screen door effect, it's being able to see a lot of the pixels and the lines between the pixels. But it does track very well, and the image clarity is very good.
Wow, it's nice to be back in the Oculus. First thing I noticed, field of view is wider than I thought it would be. It's still quite impressive to me.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, looking around, everything's quite crisp. The game has quite a nice, colourful, comic-y style, so I don't know if that's a real test of it, but yeah. There's some tearing there, I'd see.
On the textures?
Yeah, but I mean, it's not a big deal. It's still a very impressive thing. And yeah, still feels nice and fluid, very in motion, yeah.
Let's try the Vive.
Alrighty, so same place with the Vive. And the field of view is noticeably different in the vertical, not so much on the horizontal there.
So there's more on the vertical?
Very much so, yeah.
Okay.
There's not the same kind of tearing I see on that block there that I saw with the Oculus.
Okay.
And the only thing I would mention is the control scheme feels a bit weird, because I can walk around and it is transitioning to in-game.
Okay.
But I mean, I only have this square and I'm seeing the chaperone system, so I have to use the controller, which then feels a bit weird.
I see.
So I guess it's limited by the game you're playing.
So these controls are CAC, that's the only way I can put these. But the use of the chaperone system is quite unique, but moving about it feels very unnatural. I end up moving at kind of land speed paces like this. I have to jump like that, I don't really like it. And like you said, you can move around in this chaperone system, so I could probably even walk over the edge of this. Oh, whoa, see, yeah, I can, but I'm at the edge of where my chaperone is. Wow. But I think the game thinks I'm over there, so no matter where you move in this, you're just about. But it still sounds nice. Yeah, it looks clearer than it seemed to in the Oculus.
So other than the difference in the control scheme, not a great deal of difference?
No, not really.
So, which was your favourite?
Do you know what? It's hard to compare because they are such different experiences. It'd be like comparing a PC game to a Wii game.
Yeah.
The Vive is so wonderful and immersive, and it's a great console if what you want to do is move about in the game, pick things up, interact with stuff, move about, have that level of immersion. It is the device for you. If what you want to do is have a seated PC experience, the Oculus Rift is your man. It's very, very clear. They both operate superbly in what they do. And in fact, I think it's unfair that we've had to do this because you can't really compare them because they are such different experiences.
Yeah.
And I can't really say any more about it than that.
What it really comes down to is the game you're playing, because the games you played on the Vive tend to be more sort of standing experiences, you know, where you're walking around and the game's been built for the medium itself, which is room scale.
Yeah.
Oculus, again, great games. They tend to be sort of more longer form narratives where you're sitting down, and again, it works very well because it's been built for that.
Absolutely.
But trying to play, for example, Windlands in Vive feels a bit weird because you're limited by the control scheme, and I think that's where the issue comes in.
Yeah, the Xbox controller really does add a level of control that the Vive controllers in this instance don't do. You're used to using that if you're moving about, moving a camera. You're not used to having two in each hand. So yeah, I'll give it that it was slightly alien to the concept of it, but for what it was, still worked really nicely, and in terms of quality, they both seemed roughly the same.
They did. That said, we'll have to wait and see how the Oculus works with the touch controllers when they come out.
Absolutely.
Exciting stuff. I mean, we'll see what they come up with. I'm sure it'll be just as good as the Vive.
Very much so. So guys, the answer is we don't know which one's better because they are just such different experiences. We love both equally in what they do. I'd probably say that the Vive is more personal to me because I like those experiences.
I might go for the Oculus actually, because the Oculus playing in Drift, for example, wow, I was blown away with that. You know, those kind of experiences, you know, I think, again, they're similar to each device, but that blew it away for me. So.
These are just our opinions. We would like to know yours. So which device do you prefer? Let us know in the comment section below. Why do you prefer it? We'd love to hear your opinion on it.
And this won't be the end of our VR content. We'll be doing more in the future, just not as extreme. And,
not a whole bonanza of it. Until the PlayStation VR comes out.
Bonanza.
It was Bonanza.
We're not calling it Bonanza.
We might call it Bonanza. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching this Bonanza, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye, Zeus. So, hell of a week, huh?
Hell of a week.
What was your favourite game?
Probably Hover Junkers after changing my mind from Space Pirate to Budget Cuts. What about you?
I think Budget Cuts.
Budget Cuts.
Loved it. Yeah, it was
good game. You guys should check them out. They're all in this playlist up there. Every video we've done over the last week.
How fancy.
Indeed. Click it right now. You can check out Tilt Brush, Space Pirate Trainer, The Brookhaven Experiment, Budget Cuts, Hover Junkers, a wide variety of videos, all up here.
And if there's anything else you want us to do in the future, let us know. We'll do it.
Down there.